know.
Cool. First off, thank you very much for coming out to the Alamo Draft House, and I thought that it went really well last night.
It was great, yeah, and I'm a big fan of the Alamo Draft House.
Yeah.
Everyone kept asking me about different interviews, and I could never say it right.
Yeah, well, you got it right this time.
I did, because
So
we rehearsed it before the camera was turned on.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I think there's one that's coming out to LA, I believe.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
No. Do you know where?
I do not. I don't know yet.
It's so cool, because I want a movie theater where you can sit and eat and drink.
Yeah. It has a completely different feel. Like
It does, completely.
So
I don't know how to describe it. It's very casual and...
I think it's for the ultimate movie buff.
Yeah,
like
eclectic.
Yeah, well, I mean, I thought that the show went really well. What I was interested in is that, I think you've talked about this before, that it's hard to bring something unique to a science fiction because, everybody's seen the explosions, with Aliens, and District 9 and things like that. But what I liked is that this definitely had a feel like Saving Private Ryan, and that it was more about the human element and what good and bad can come from that. Can you kind of discuss, did that draw you to the script?
Yeah, and exactly how you said, and you put it so well, and because the writer Bob Rodat, who wrote Saving Private Ryan, when I met with him at the meeting, he said, I just want you to know, I'm not a science fiction writer. I write about human drama. So I think that's why Spielberg and Michael Wright, Vice President of TNT, wanted to work with Bob, because they thought, let's do science fiction, but let's have the science fiction be the secondary story. Let's have the primary story be about a family, and then all the people surrounding that family. So hopefully, you watch the show and you feel the human aspect of it, and then the science fiction part's just like an added bonus.
Yeah. Well, and the immediate comparison for me was like to your character, to Blair, in Terminator Salvation. But I actually kind of felt like this character, even though we haven't seen a lot of her yet in the first episode, I felt like she's a stronger character because she brings some balance to the entire family.
More maternal, more matriarchal, yeah.
Sure.
And that's definitely why I was drawn to the part, because I don't do any action scenes in this. There's no training involved other than trying to look like I was a competent doctor.
Yeah.
So it's different in that way, and very much a more cerebral character.
Yeah, and I mean there's a lot of complexity to it. I think there's layers. There's obviously, you have a moment where you talk about military versus kind of civilians, right?
Yeah, that was a great moment. I hope I have more scenes with Will Patton. He's one of the most brilliant actors I've ever worked with.
Yeah.
And so intense and so present, and we all fell in love with him. But I love that I got to kind of go, I was so intimidated, but I had to go up to him and kind of pose the question that if you are taking care of the military and not the civilians, I mean, the reason why we're fighting is for the civilians. So
Sure.
I'm there to I'm the voice of the people, so to speak, because I'm the doctor and I hear all their woes and worries.
Right. Well, and you say that, they're not just eaters.
They're not,
right?
yeah, we know you call them eaters.
Sure, absolutely.
I hope there's more of that we play more on that.
No, I think there is. I wanted to ask you, obviously, you're an actress that you've made like the Maxim Hot 100 multiple times. You've played action roles where you've kind of been the badass and stuff like that. Do you ever find it hard to find a balance? Because unfortunately it seems like in the film industry, a lot of times females are kind of put into one category, right? Like there's either the Megan Foxes or there's the Meryl Streeps.
Exactly.
Like how do you find a balance? And do you kind of pride yourself on trying to do both?
Well, what I try not to do is ever feel apologetic that I've done Maxim or do sexy roles, because I also refuse to not embrace my own sexuality. I never want to feel ashamed, and I never equate sexuality with a lack of intelligence or integrity, so I'm kind of defiant in that way. But I also understand what Hollywood is. I mean, first of all, genetically you look a certain way. Like, I don't look like the girl next door. You have to know what you look like, and that's just being like a smart person and going, listen, I have a certain look, I'm a certain ethnicity, these are the roles I'm most likely going to go out for. I try not to, swim upstream, and I know what my place is. But also, yes, you always want to then be taken seriously and try to go for more dramatic parts. But I try to be realistic, but I'm going to still try to go out for those things. It's a challenge because there's so many of us fighting for the same piece of cheese. And roles there's not as many movies being made, but I would like to, as I get older, do more roles that are like this role, and for instance, it is more cerebral, it is more internal, it is more spiritual. But and I'm kind of moving away out of the Maxim stuff. But I want to embrace both those sides of myself.
Well, I think that's okay. You know, I think that it's a completely interesting dynamic, because there's so many times like that I feel like society frowns upon that, and yet they look to people. You know what I mean? Like, you hold up people that have sexual appeal, and
it's a hard dichotomy, because we sort of, and I'm sure I do it too. You know, you look at, you want to be sexual, but you don't want to exploit sexuality.
Sure.
And I've worked with other actresses who feel really defined about not being in their bra and underwear, and I just feel like, you know, I can fight that, or I can embrace it, because someday I'm not going to be cute. So, you know, and then I also think just because someone's attractive or sexy, that doesn't mean that they don't know wrong from right, or that they use their sexuality in all ways. They don't.
Sure.
They can be brilliant and interesting and creative. But then I do feel that when you do Maxim, you are sort of pigeonholed, for sure. But I'm a grown-up. I made my own decisions. I know how I'm perceived. I just have to remember who I am all the time. And sometimes it is challenging. You know that people look at you and go, oh, you did Maxim and all that. But no, am I trying to win an Academy Award? No. I'm not. I'm just trying to live in the moment. And then maybe one day I'll get into comedy and stuff like that. Sometimes I want to be the goofy girl.
Yeah.
I am actually a really goofy person. So I don't see myself as the Maxim girl. I really, really don't. I dress like a homeless person, pretty much.
Well, you fit right in with Austin right now.
Oh my God, I was looking at how they were dressed, and I was like, this is so me.
Yeah, right.
Like sweats and flip-flops and no makeup.
Well, I was thinking that yesterday, actually, as I was like, man, I bet she would do a good job with comedy, because in the Q&A, you had a very good sense of timing, you know.
Oh,
so
thanks.
I think that, and you also, I mean, you've done Beautiful Boy, so I don't think that, you know, I mean, you've definitely
Yeah, you saw that movie. It's a really good movie.
Yeah, I was really impressed.
I was so excited to work with Michael Sheen and Maria Bello, because just when you're working with really great actors, you're like, that's going to rub off on me, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. So, well, we're also, I mean, our magazine kind of deals with pop culture, but it also deals with sports. You danced in LA, right, with the Los Angeles Lakers. Are you a sports fan?
I wouldn't say like I know sports well, but I do watch basketball.
Okay.
I like basketball. I'm a big fan of Kobe. And I wish I would have played sports when I was younger, but I don't know if I told you, like, I'm really into bowling.
Oh, really?
And I do consider that a sport.
Yeah, well,
it is on ESPN. There is competitions.
Oh yeah, no, I saw you checking out the lanes over there at the high ball.
You know, if I didn't have my heels on, I would have went over there and tried to roll some ball.
You got to come back in.
I
It's
love
awesome.
high balls. Cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool, like, interesting concept. It's only 8 lanes. Like, I need like a big bowling alley, but. I'm into sports.
Yeah, well, you know those lanes, like, they actually, like, they went and got the same lanes that were from the movie The Big Lebowski, if I'm correct?
One of the best movies. My girlfriend's actually in that movie.
Really?
I visited her on set. She's one of the bowling alley girls, like in the dream sequence.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember coming to visit her, and that's one of my favorite movies. And that bowling alley actually doesn't exist anymore. It was off the 101 or something in LA.
Right.
And I always wanted to, like, open up my own bowling alley and call it, like, the Big L.
That'd be
awesome. The Big Lebowski, it's like classic.
Yeah. Well, like with Dirk Nowitzki now, like, because, you know, he's still, like, for the Dallas Mavericks in there. Like, we call him, like, the Big Nowitzki and stuff. So, yeah. So that's pretty cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. You're a big sci-fi fan. Yesterday you mentioned that Blade Runner is a huge, like, film that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
What do you like about the genre, and kind of what are a couple of films that really kind of, like, are close to your heart?
I think what I like about it is that, and I say this a lot, I like the philosophical element of it. Of whenever you watch good science fiction, it always causes you to look at your own human tendencies. And when you're watching Star Trek and you see the Klingons, if you watch that and you didn't know anything about Star Trek, you'd be like, this is so goofy. But if you really watch it, it's there to show you the social aspects of racism and sexism and judging people that are different from you, and that what the Klingons consider normal is not normal for us doesn't mean we're any better. So there's a lot of philosophical undertones to Star Trek and Star Wars. I mean, Star Wars is very philosophical. So I always like science fiction because I thought it was deep. It always got my mind thinking, and it was also interesting. It's not just fantasy, but it's interesting to think, what else is out there? This can't be it. The buck can't stop just here. And I think you can even look at someone like Jesus Christ and look at that. That could be an alien. You know, like it's not that far off to think of. And so science fiction is something that really gets my mind going, and when it's done well. when it's not done well, I get irritated.
Yeah.
Because I think it's you're kind of abusing something that's a really great medium.
Yeah, well, I think Falling Skies handles that because there's that moment whenever, like Noah's kind of standing over the alien and you get the impression, like they say they die just like us, but,
Yep.
it's like they live just like us to a certain degree. So I'm definitely interested in seeing kind of that other aspect because I know that that's probably what y'all are going to handle.
And we always make comparisons, like they're coming, like if they were coming, let's say, to our universe because they needed more resources, well, we're going through our resources so quick. I mean,
Sure.
At some point, do we need to leave and go find resources? And at what point, when are you justified in taking other people's resources, or,
Sure.
So there's so many stories. When you watch The Twilight Zone, which was a big influence in my life, those are stories that challenge you in your beliefs as a human being and your own feelings of entitlement as
Yeah.
a human being, and that how we're different from animals and yet similar, and so it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll let you go on that note, but I mean, you're doing a great job, and I definitely look forward to seeing how the arc of your story goes in the Falling
Thank
Skies.
you. I
Awesome.
hope you like it. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you, man.
Alrighty.